For God's sake, who let this one in? The director's voice sliced through the pristine lobby. His eyes raked over me, dripping with disdain, before he deliberately emptied his iced latte all over my head. The icy, sticky liquid cascaded down Lena Hayes' face, a shocking torrent of cold brew and sweet caramel. It soaked her custom-tailored, light gray cashmere blazer in an instant, the dark, ugly stains spreading rapidly. Droplets clung to her eyelashes and dripped from her chin onto the pristine, white marble floor of Innovatech Dynamics Global Headquarters. Her $5,000 Bottega Veneta briefcase, holding a $500 million acquisition proposal, was now splattered with milky brown drops. The man responsible, Mark Cunningham, director of sales, stood there with a smirk, the empty Vinny plastic cup still in his hand. His power suit was immaculate, his silver tie clip gleaming under the recessed lighting. He was the picture of corporate authority, and he was reveling in this public display of power. You people always think you can just wander into places you don't belong? Mark sneered, his voice loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. Well, not on my watch. The lobby, a cathedral of glass and steel, fell into a stunned silence. 15, maybe 20 employees and visitors froze mid-conversation. Phones, which had been tucked away in pockets and purses, began to emerge, their lenses like a dozen unblinking eyes ready to capture the unfolding drama. Chloe Tran, the young Asian receptionist with a chic bob and wide, terrified eyes, was the first to find her voice. Sir, Ms. Hayes has proper credentials. She's here for... Are you questioning my judgment, Chloe? Mark cut her off, his tone turning venomous. Because I can have you writing incident reports from the mailroom for the rest of a year. Do you understand? Chloe's face flushed with a mixture of fear and shame. She glanced at Lena with a look of profound apology before shrinking back behind her sprawling oak desk. But Lena Hayes didn't scream. She didn't cry or curse. She stood perfectly still, a statue of serene dignity amidst the chaos. The only movement was the slow, deliberate way she reached into her blazer's inner pocket. With steady hands, she produced her phone. She didn't make a call. Instead, she began to document everything with the cold precision of a forensic investigator. Click. A photo of the spreading stain on her ruined blazer. Click. A photo of the sticky puddle forming around her designer heels. Click. A close-up of her splattered Bottega Veneta briefcase, where the corner of a document titled Project Nightingale Fusion, Confidential, was now visible. Click. A wide shot of the stunned onlookers and their recording phones. Click. A final, unflinching photo of Mark Cunningham's smug face. Then, she lowered her phone and glanced at the Patek Philippe watch on her wrist, its diamond bezel catching the light. 2:47 p.m., she murmured, her voice quiet but clear. 13 minutes until 3. The countdown had begun. Mark just didn't know it yet. He mistook her calm for weakness, her silence for submission. He adjusted his tie, puffing out his chest. He believed he owned this moment. He couldn't have been more wrong. Just as Mark was about to order security to physically remove Lena, the elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. A woman in a sharp, navy blue pantsuit strode out, her expression immediately hardening as she took in the scene. This was Catherine Pierce, the assistant HR manager, known for being Mark's loyal enforcer. What's going on here? Catherine asked, though her eyes, which scanned Lena from head to toe with undisguised contempt, suggested she had already made up her mind. She positioned herself at Mark's side, a united front of corporate power. Just handling a security breach, Mark said dismissively. This woman was trying to scam her way upstairs. Claimed she had a meeting with the CEO. I see, Catherine said, her eyes narrowing on Lena's expensive, albeit ruined, attire. We've had intel about corporate spies targeting tech firms. They dressed the part to get past the front desk. She turned to the approaching security guard. Samuel, how did she even get this far? Samuel Jones, the head of security, was a tall, broad-shouldered black man in his late 40s. He had a calm, commanding presence and had seen enough office politics to recognize a disaster in the making. His eyes met Lena's for a brief moment, noting the complete absence of panic in her gaze. "She has proper credentials, Ms. Pierce," Samuel stated, his voice a deep, steady baritone. "Signed visitor log, VIP clearance for the executive floor." "Forged, obviously," Mark scoffed. "Those can be faked," Catherine added, reinforcing Mark's assumption. Mark was right to be cautious. "We need to remove her. Now." Lena knelt gracefully, ignoring them completely, and began to carefully gather the soggy papers that had fallen from her briefcase. Her movements were methodical, her focus absolute. A junior marketing executive, Jordan Riley, stood near the coffee bar, pretending to text while his phone was discreetly recording a video. He'd worked at Innovatech for 2 years and knew Mark was a bully, but this was a new level of aggression. Something felt profoundly wrong. "Ma'am," Samuel said, his tone respectful as he addressed Lena. "I didn't need to ask the nature of your business here." Lena looked up, caramel still glistening in her natural hair. "I'm delivering time-sensitive documents for the 3 p.m. board meeting. Mr. Hayes is expecting them." She handed Samuel her visitor badge. Samuel's eyebrows rose almost imperceptibly as he read the access level. Executive Suite, Level 10 clearance. Before he could process it, Mark snatched the badge from his hand. "Mr. Hayes? You mean Daniel Hayes? The CEO?" Mark laughed, a harsh, ugly sound, like he would ever associate with someone like you. The racist implication hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Several employees shifted uncomfortably. Jordan's recording captured every single word. "With what exactly, Mr. Cunningham?" Lena's voice cut through his rant like a shard of ice. The lobby fell silent once more. Another executive, Ethan Vance, the VP of product, had been watching from a distance. The name on the document Lena was salvaging, Project Nightingale, rang a bell. It was a top-secret, $500 million acquisition. Highly confidential. Board-level approval was required today. Ethan's face began to pale. "Mark," Ethan said, stepping forward cautiously. "Maybe we should just stay out of this, Ethan." Mark snapped, his authority now being challenged. "I have this under control." But he didn't. The control was an illusion, rapidly evaporating. Lena's unnerving composure was a stark contrast to Mark's escalating, red-faced bluster. The power dynamic was shifting, and everyone in the lobby could feel it. 10 minutes, Lena murmured, checking her Patek Philippe again. 10 minutes until what? Catherine demanded. "Until your accomplices show up." Lena simply smiled, a small, enigmatic smile that sent a shiver down Chloe Tran's spine. The countdown continued. Chloe Tran's hands trembled as she stared at her computer screen. An instant message from the CEO's executive assistant had just popped up, its text burning with urgency. "Is Mrs. Hayes downstairs? Daniel is looking for the Nightingale documents for the emergency board meeting." Mrs. Hayes. The name finally clicked into place. The elegant black woman who visited monthly, always with top-level VIP clearance, always whizzed straight up to the 32nd floor. The woman whose photo sat on Daniel Hayes' desk in the company's annual report. "Oh my God," Chloe whispered, her blood running cold. Mark, noticing her horrified expression, barked, "What is it now, Tran? Did you forget how to answer a phone?" Chloe's fear was suddenly eclipsed by a surge of conviction. She couldn't let this continue. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she typed a reply. "Yes, she is here. There's a situation in the lobby." Before she could get a response, Catherine Pierce leaned over Lena, her voice dripping with condescending sweetness. "You know, I think I've figured you out. You're a professional grifter. You put on a nice outfit, get a fake briefcase, and hope to talk your way into a settlement when we call security. It's a pathetic little scam." 6 minutes, Lena said softly, ignoring Catherine entirely as she finished collecting her papers. Samuel Jones watched, his internal conflict growing. His training dictated that he follow the orders of senior management. But his gut, honed by 2 decades in law enforcement before he took this job, screamed that Mark and Catherine were dangerously wrong. He was a black man being ordered by 2 white managers to forcibly remove a black woman who, by all accounts, had every right to be there. "Mark, I really think we should verify her identity before. Ethan Vance tried again, his voice more insistent. For the last time, Ethan, use your eyes. Mark spun on him. Does she look like the wife of a billionaire CEO to you? The raw, unfiltered racism of the question silenced the entire lobby. Jordan Riley made sure his phone's microphone was pointed directly at Mark. This was no longer just workplace harassment. It was a clear-cut case of discrimination, and he had it all on tape. Just then, Lena's phone rang, its classical ringtone cutting through the tension. She answered it, her voice the epitome of calm. Hi, darling. A pause. Yes, I'm still downstairs. There's been a small complication with building security. Even from several feet away, a deep, powerful male voice could be heard through the phone's earpiece, strained with frustration. What kind of complication? Do I need to come down? That might be helpful, Lena replied smoothly. I have your Nightingale contracts, but a Mr. Cunningham seems to believe I'm a corporate spy. Another pause. Then the voice on the other end dropped several degrees, becoming pure ice. Put him on the phone. Brad shook his head frantically, waving his hands as if to ward off a curse. No, I'm not falling for it. It's probably your getaway driver. Lena held out her phone. He like a word. Absolutely not. Mark yelled, his composure finally cracking. Samuel, I am ordering you. Arrest this woman for trespassing and corporate espionage. That's a direct order. Samuel looked from Mark's desperate, sweating face to the phone in Lena's hand. His career was flashing before his eyes. He had a choice. Follow an unlawful, racist order, or bet on the calm woman holding the phone. Ding. The sound of the private executive elevator arriving was as loud as a gunshot in the silent lobby. Its polished steel doors slid open with a soft, hydraulic whoosh. 3 minutes, Lena said, checking her watch one last time. Right on time. He stepped out of the elevator, and the atmosphere in the lobby instantly changed. It wasn't just the impeccable $5,000 Tom Ford suit or the commanding 6 feet 2 inches frame. It was the aura of absolute authority that radiated from him. Daniel Hayes, the founder and CEO of Innovatech Dynamics, a man who had built a $2.4 billion empire from a garage startup, was here. His eyes, sharp and intelligent, swept the room, taking in the scene with the speed of a supercomputer processing data. The crowd of silent employees, the shattered coffee cup on the floor, the puddles of sticky liquid, and finally, his wife. Lena. His voice was quiet, but it carried across the vast space, cutting through the tension. What happened to you? The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. Mark Cunningham's sneer dissolved into a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. Catherine Pierce took a step back so quickly she stumbled, catching herself on a decorative planter. Ethan Vance looked like he was going to be physically ill. Lena turned to her husband, her composure finally allowing for a flicker of emotion. Not distress, but the weary look of a queen let down by her own royal guard. I brought you Nightingale contracts, she said, her voice steady. They got a little wet. Daniel's expression shifted through a rapid series of emotions. Confusion, recognition, and then a glacial fury that seemed to drop the temperature of the room by 20 degrees. He was looking at his wife, Lena Hayes, Harvard MBA, former McKinsey consultant, and a sitting board member of 3 Fortune 500 companies, standing soaked in a coffee drink while his own employees gawked. Someone, Daniel said, his voice dangerously low, is going to explain to me, right now, why my wife is covered in iced latte. The silence that followed was absolute. No one moved. No one breathed. Mark's mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no sound came out. Sweat beaded on his forehead, tracing paths down his temples. Asked a question, Daniel repeated, his tone now laced with menace. Samuel Jones stepped forward, his security training taking over. Sir, there appears to have been a misunderstanding regarding Mrs. Hayes' credentials. A misunderstanding? Daniel's eyebrows shot up. Samuel, my wife has visited this office every month for the last 3 years. She has spoken at our annual shareholder meetings. Her photograph hangs in the main boardroom. What is there to misunderstand? Jordan Riley's live stream, which he had started on LinkedIn, exploded. The viewer count jumped from a few hundred to several thousand in seconds. The video was being shared, commented on, and reposted across every social media platform. The internet was now a witness. Daniel walked over to his wife, his protective instincts on full display. "Lena, tell me exactly what happened." She didn't say a word. She simply handed him her phone. He scrolled through the gallery. The time-stamped photos of the assault, the ruined briefcase, the stunned crowd, and Mark's smug face. Daniel's jaw tightened with every swipe. "This has been going on for 13 minutes, he stated, his voice a low growl. His gaze shifted to Mark. "Mr. Cunningham, you've been with us for 4 years. In those 4 years, you've seen my wife at no less than a dozen company events. You knew exactly who she was. It wasn't a question. It was a verdict. You didn't just make a mistake. You made a choice." Catherine Pierce tried to intervene, a desperate attempt at damage control. "Sir, we were just diligent about corporate security. There have been threats." "Catherine," Daniel's voice cut her off like a guillotine. "Are you trying to justify pouring a drink on my wife? Did you, as an HR manager, think that was an appropriate de-escalation technique?" He then turned to the crowd. "And all of you just stood and watched. Some of you filmed it for your entertainment." His eyes found Chloe and Samuel. "Except for you two. Thank you for doing your jobs correctly." The private elevator chimed again. This time, the company's entire executive leadership team stepped out. The COO, CFO, head of legal, and the new HR director, Patricia Miller, summoned by an emergency alert from Daniel. They stopped dead, their faces a mixture of shock and horror. "Ladies and gentlemen," Daniel announced, his voice ringing with cold fury. "Meet the architects of what will now be the most expensive HR disaster in this company's history. Patricia, get your tablet. We're starting with terminations." The 32nd floor executive conference room, usually a place of calm, strategic discussion, now felt like a war room. The stunning panoramic view of downtown Chicago was ignored. 7 board members sat around a massive obsidian table, their faces grim, their tablets glowing with breaking news alerts and plummeting stock tickers. Daniel Hayes stood at the head of the table. He had refused to change out of his suit jacket, the faint stain of a latte a stark reminder of the crisis at hand. Lena sat to his right, now in a simple Innovatech polo shirt someone had found for her. She was no longer just the victim. She was the prosecution. "Let's get straight to it," announced board chairman William Foster. "The stock is down 3.2%, which has wiped out $77 million of market cap in 2 hours. Hashtag Innovatech racism is the #1 trending topic nationally, and CNN is running the live stream video on a loop. So what's our move?" James Morrison, the head of legal, spoke first. "Lisa Miller's live stream has over 2 million views. We are facing a potential class action lawsuit that could dwarf any legal issue we've ever had. My conservative estimate for containment, settlements, legal fees, PR, is $15 million. And that's if Mrs. Hayes doesn't sue us for every penny we have." All eyes turned to Lena. She wasn't looking at them. She was looking at a thick binder of HR documents she had requested. "I've been reviewing Innovatech's diversity and inclusion statistics," she said, her voice calm and clear. "It makes for fascinating reading." She opened the binder to a highlighted page. Executive leadership, 73% white male. Department heads, 81% white. In a city that is 33% black and 29% Latino, our workforce is 7% black and 12% Latino. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was an inevitability. Your system is designed to produce this outcome. "Lena, we have always been a meritocracy," a board member protested weakly. "A meritocracy that measures merit by similarity," Lena countered without missing a beat. "When 95% of your recruiters and 88% of your hiring managers come from the same background, you don't reward talent. You replicate yourselves." Daniel pulled up data on the massive screen on the wall. It was an analysis of Mark Cunningham's department. Employee satisfaction in his division, 3.2 out of 5. Annual turnover rate, 34%, nearly double the company average. Exit interviews are filled with keywords like hostile, disrespect, and boys club. "How did we miss this?" the COO asked, aghast. "We didn't miss it," Lena said, her voice sharp. "We ignored it. I found 47 separate HR complaints filed against Mark's department in the last 18 months. All of them were marked resolved or unsubstantiated by Catherine Pierce." The HR director, Patricia Miller, looked horrified. "Those were investigated according to protocol. A protocol designed to protect the company, not the employees," Lena shot back. "What are you proposing, Lena?" Chairman Foster asked, cutting to the chase. "A complete structural and cultural overhaul," she replied, opening her laptop. She projected a detailed, multi-point plan she had clearly been working on for years, waiting for the right moment. First, an anonymous, third-party managed reporting system with a zero retaliation policy. Cost $127,000 annually. Second, mandatory, quarterly bias and sensitivity training for every single employee, from the janitor to the CEO. Cost $234,000 annually. Third, diverse hiring mandates. 40% minority representation in management within 18 months, with partnerships with HBCUs and Hispanic serving institutions. Cost $189,000 annually. Fourth, an employee advocacy program with trained internal ombudsmen. Cost $156,000 annually. Fifth, tying all executive bonuses directly to meeting these diversity and inclusion targets. If your department doesn't reflect our community, your bonus shrinks. The room was silent. This wasn't just PR. This was revolution. "The total annual cost," Daniel said, having done the math, "is less than what Mark Cunningham's department spent on client dinners last year." "One final condition," Lena said, her eyes sweeping across the board members. "I want a public, live-streamed apology. Not from the company. From Mark Cunningham himself." 72 hours later, Innovatech Dynamics was a changed company. The lobby, once a stage for humiliation, now featured digital displays showcasing the company's new, aggressive commitment to diversity and inclusion. At precisely 2:47 p.m., Chloe Tran, now wearing a nameplate that read Executive Relations Coordinator, turned her monitor so visitors could see the live stream. Mark Cunningham's face appeared on the screen. He was unshaven, sitting in a dimly lit apartment, a ghost of his former self. "My name is Brad Stevens," he began, his voice cracking. "3 days ago, I committed an act of racist aggression. I was wrong. Completely, inexcusably wrong. I take full responsibility for my actions." The live stream ended after 6 minutes, having peaked at over 4,200 viewers. Justice in the digital age was public. The ripple effects were immediate and profound. Samuel Jones was now leading mandatory de-escalation and bias training for security firms across the city. Jordan Riley's video won a Social Impact Award, and he was promoted to lead a new digital media ethics team. 6 months later, Lena Hayes stood on the stage at the National Diversity Summit in Atlanta, addressing a crowd of 500 of the nation's top business leaders. "They saw a black woman and decided I didn't belong," she said, her voice resonating with quiet power. "What they failed to see was a person who builds systems. So that's what I did." Innovatech's transformation was now a business school case study. Minority leadership had soared to 34%. Employee satisfaction was at an all-time high of 4.7 out of 5. The stock had outperformed the sector average by 12%, as investors and clients flocked to a company that had proven its commitment to its values. Mark Cunningham was unemployable in corporate America. Catherine Pierce was last seen working at a small accounting firm, her management ambitions permanently extinguished. True justice isn't just about punishment, Lena concluded, a photo of Innovatech's new, diverse leadership team appearing on the screen behind her. It's about prevention. It's about building institutions where dignity is the default setting. The standing ovation was thunderous. Later, she checked her phone. A text from Daniel. "Board just approved the Seattle expansion. Investors cited our diversity leadership as a key competitive advantage." "You did this." She smiled. The woman covered in latte 6 months ago had not just won a battle. She had redesigned the entire battlefield. What happened to Lena was horrific, but it sparked a revolution. It forces us to ask, what hidden biases exist in our own workplaces? And what can we do to change them? Please, comment with respect, and share your own stories if you feel comfortable. Let's make every workplace a safe space. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that matter.